it over. You spoke about, I think you wrote a very, very interesting word, and that made me make a note of it. You said last minute changes, okay? And I believe as consumers, sorry to use this word, but I'll end up still using it, we are shameless. As consumers, we end up being shameless at times. We have last minute changes, and yet the expectations are as if it was bound to happen. Why didn't the delivery executive or why didn't the company, AI it or ML it and assume that I wanted this last minute change? If most of you have watched a movie called Minority Report, it's a 25-year-old movie. Yeah, it's almost predicting that somebody is going to commit a crime. So there is a last minute change and yet an expectation of adhering to that last minute change with a smile on your face. So please share what you, why you made a specific mention of it. What did you encounter in your career that you felt that last minute change is a big issue?
So actually, so where I work, and I've been working there for about 7.5 years, it's into research and data. So I've done a lot of work in logistics and other sub-verticals in the industrial space. And I quite sympathize with the supply side having to deal with last minute changes, because being a service provider, I have to deal with last minute changes, right? And I am expected to do that with a smile on my face over a weekend, late night, whatever. And we try to push back as much as we can, but at the end of the day, client is king, right? I mean, we are in the business of providing services. So yes, this mentality is here. And while this is not a debate, I would just like to go back to what Kamlesh said. You may be right, Abhishek, that things are changing, but when he mentioned that, at the age of 20, 25, they're doing deliveries, is it sustainable when they become 40, 45? Now, I have never made a single delivery myself. But at the age of 25, 30, I used to love driving around Delhi. I love driving. Now, I abhor it. I just cannot sit behind the steering wheel. I use cabs. I try and use whatever means I can to avoid driving, right? And even while I'm in the passenger seat, I notice that the driver generally on every trip gets a glare or an abuse or some kind of very unpleasant thing happens, which makes me respect my decision. Oh, I'm not going to drive anymore. Like it happens on a daily basis, right? So I don't know whether things are becoming better or not. In my opinion, that and what I've seen is, urban congestion is a reality, right? People are running all the time. They have no patience, they have no regards. And therefore, I agree, I don't know whether it's the hardest job or not, but a last mile delivery agent's job is probably one of the most thankless jobs ever. Yeah? It's like the traffic police. Nobody understands them, everybody abuses them, everybody expects them to do their work. Now, coming back to last minute changes. So last minute changes can be on both ends, by the way. I'll first talk about what I actually meant, right? I meant last minute change on the supplier side. It's raining, right? There are instances where my Zomato delivery agent has called me up to inform me at 11:30 at night, and thankfully he didn't ask me, why are you ordering ice cream at 11:30 at night, right? But he did call me that I was coming through this area and there was this traffic red light and I stopped and I got mugged. So, please help me out, please cancel your order or whatever. There have been instances where they've had accidents. There have been instances where while my order is, my item is showing as available on Zepto, but at the last minute after payment, they kind of send that it is not available. Now, I honestly do not think that delivery guys are always right and customers are always wrong. At the end of the day, we are all human beings. What we are not okay with last minute changes. More than that, we are not okay with lack of communication. If my order is 10 minutes late, right? I am irate because my expectation is 10 minutes. But if it's communicated to me, right, that there is a delay, we are sorry. I think that's partially taken care of. But if it's communicated to me real time, then I think I'll be more okay with all this. Instead, if I have no communication, for example, I'm not going to name it, but I use a cab service very, very regularly, almost on a daily basis. And it's an excellent cab service. I have never faced any issues with it, except one thing. Whenever there is an issue, I go to the chat support team. They say, we'll get back to you in 2 to 3 minutes after inquiring with the driver. And they always get back to me in 15 to 20 minutes. My question to them always is, if you need 15 to 20 minutes, why do you say 2 to 3 minutes? Because it's probably raining, I'm waiting outside, or it's 40 degrees Celsius and I'm waiting outside, I have to go for a meeting, I'm sweating, I cannot present myself like this. The least you can do is keeping open communication, transparent communication. Because I don't know if it's an Indian thing or not, but we have all done this, right? I mean, I have to reach someplace, I'm half an hour late. My friend calls me, हाँ भाई कितना time में आ रहा है? 5 मिनट लग रहे हैं. We always say 5 minutes, right? We call an electrician, he's doing something, he's at another job, and he'll take an hour. He'll never say an hour, because he knows that I'll go to some other guy. He says, sir, 10 minute mein pahunch raha hu. This is our natural habit. And this leads to a lot of customer dissatisfaction. So what I'm trying to get at here is that when it's from the supplier end, and again using the best way we can keep in constant communication and keep updating the customer without using manual effort is using tech. I think Swiggy and Zomato both do that. Zepto also does that, but Zepto doesn't track. It doesn't show where the driver is, but Swiggy and Zomato have done an amazing job at doing that. And by the way, I feel that in all 3 cases, customers are more or less, wherever we have done customer research, they are more or less understanding that yes, delays can take place. And the reason is that they get regular updates. So communication is a very, very, very important thing. Now coming to last minute changes which are happening on the customer part, right? So I have made an order, at the last minute I cancel, or worst case scenario, I order something, apparel, and there is a 7-day window usually, and I give it back. I count that as a last minute change as well, because when I have, if the customer is not, see, the one common thing that I've come across is 15 to 20% of deliveries overall in Metro T1, T2 get affected because the address cannot be confirmed. Right? What do you do then? There are players who are using tech and AI to try and confirm address, but you have to understand that, like, for example, if you go to the UK, all addresses are of the same format. There is a certain code. If you type in that code into Google Map, you will get there. Right? That code is available in India also, by the way. Nobody uses it. Right? In India, you have a flat number, you have a flat. So my address has a flat number and a society name, then a plot number, then a sector, then the society, then the area, right? Where I previously used to stay, it was a flat number, it was sector, pocket, and then the area. So everywhere these are different. So you have to understand that for tech, which does not have brains, we call AI. At the end of the day, it's artificial. It is what we make of it. It is how we train AI, right? The intelligence the I stands for intelligence, but the artificial stands for whatever we are teaching. It's technically still partly manual, because it is. It has algorithm, but it depends on how we are training it, right? So you have to understand that it's very difficult for tech to detect addresses of different formats and still give the right answer to the user. It's not impossible, it's complicated, we are getting there, but because of that, 15 to 20% deliveries are affected. So what happens when, let's say, a customer reschedules or cancels the order or sends back order because they've ordered 4 dresses, they don't like 3, so they'll keep one and they send back. Reverse logistics is costlier, right? When you look at reverse logistics in RTO, return to origin, it's costlier because in that case, the delivery provider has to, or the company, the supplier has to bear the cost, not the logistics service provider, because they still have to pay the logistics service provider. So companies have come up with some innovative methods to tackle that. One is, again, I'm very heavily bent on tech. So I will talk about that. Again, these players have, for a long time, they have been profiling customers. If you have a customer who is sort of a serial offender in terms of giving back deliveries, right? It is there are algorithms which kind of limit the customer, the specific customer, from choosing cash on delivery. You have to pay upfront. There could be algorithms where they limit the customer from making more than a certain number of cancellations, right? So that's how what I have seen is the suppliers can, or the platforms or the brands can control last minute changes on part of the customers. I see, of course, a lot of regulatory changes or the need for regulatory changes coming in. I don't think if we are focusing on sustainability, then without having EVs replacing ICs, we can do that. And I feel the biggest challenge to EV adoption are your EV charging centers. It's not for the providers alone to solve this problem. It's partly providers, partly customers, and in a huge way, government policies will play a role. I feel that. Secondly, of course, I think everybody knows this. More and more tech play will come into this. And I want to make a I want to talk about a small example here. There's a company called Sky Air. I came across them about 2 months back. They've been making drone deliveries in Gurgaon of the order of 4,000 deliveries a day. So typically, when I heard that, I was very surprised because I wouldn't be very happy about a drone sort of flying into my balcony and making a delivery. I mean, depending on the situation, I could be scared, I could be apprehensive, But what they have done is, they've created certain small structures outside localities, which is open from the top and can be locked from outside. The drone actually drops whatever is required to be dropped into that structure. There is a delivery personnel standing there, who then takes it manually to the nearby localities within 100 or 200 meters. Now, the drone model has been tried out in different countries, some amount of success, many of them have failed. But I think this hybrid model is actually, it has potential to be successful in a country like India, where we wouldn't want any drone or a person to sort of infiltrate our privacy or our homes. I'll leave you with that.